What is up, everybody? This is the Cherry Heat Check Lobo Basketball podcast. I am Ricky Thompson, here to break down the Lobos matchup with the Marquette Golden Eagles in the NCAA Tournament coming up on Friday. It is currently Thursday, March 20th. Lobos are in Cleveland, just wrapped up their shoot-around there on the court where they'll be playing on Friday, finished media, where Donovan Dent, Nelly Jr. Joseph, CJ Nolan, Coach Patino spoke to the media, and they look ready to go. Lobo Louie is wearing turquoise out there, so it'll be interesting to see if the Lobos possibly wear turquoise tomorrow in their 10 versus 7 matchup with Marquette. My name is Ricky Thompson. I am a Lobo fan, here to talk about Lobo basketball, Mountain West basketball, and all things in between. Been lucky enough to appear on some other Mountain West and Lobo shows. Lucky enough to help out on the Pit Press, interviewed people on that show, got to really see the Mountain West from a different level, so I'm very grateful for everything I got to do with the Pit Press and helping those guys out. Also have done a few shows on the Big Mountain with JY and Steve, and I've really enjoyed that as well, and just realized that I'd like to start covering Lobo basketball in a way unique to me and the way that I see it, and the way that I'd like to share it with other fans of the Lobos and around the Mountain West Conference as it's ever changing here. But the first thing I really wanted to get into is, of course, the big dance. It has kicked off already. I believe Creighton just took down Louisville by double digits. High Point, I believe, is also playing. So it's kicked off. And first, I wanted to look back at some things that have just happened around the Mountain West over the past few days. Of course, we know usually one of our rivals in conference, the San Diego State Aztecs, played America's most hated team at the time, the North Carolina Tar Heels, in the play-in game in Dayton, with the Aztecs losing 68-95. Magoon Guath did play for the Aztecs, did not really look himself. Aztecs could not get any offense going. I believe Miles Bird only had 4 or 5 shots total, which is bizarre for someone that usually helps carry the scoring load. So North Carolina proving with RJ Davis shooting perfect from the three-point line. I think he was 6 of 6, that they do belong in this tournament. Aztecs are out with a young team that looks to return a lot of players, of course, with their fantastic coach Brian Dutcher. I believe eligible to return will be a player who was out, Reese Waters, Nick Boyd, who transferred over from FAU, of course, big men Farrell Compton, Magoon Guath, Bird, and I think Miles Heide as well could all return if the price is right and they decide they want to stay in lovely San Diego, which, if that was one of my options as a college player, I would highly consider that or not want to leave. Next game I want to talk about is one we didn't think we would ever see in San Jose State actually playing in a postseason game. I believe the first time in 40 years. We have Twitter here, Jack Townsend on X. I just wanted to bring this clip up of the game last night in the NIT tournament. We have Mountain West San Jose State Spartans only down 3 points late to Loyola Chicago in NIT first round. And I was in San Jose State for the game against the Lobos a few months ago, and there was, I don't know, maybe less, I want to say, than 1,000 people there, or around that. I would have to look at the total number, maybe 2,000. So it was kind of a bizarre college game to be at. If you're used to seeing the Lobos in a packed pit, to then see them there, it was like a high school game. But what we're going to see here is the loudest the Provident Credit Center, Union Arena, whatever it's called in San Jose, which is actually pretty cool. This is the loudest I think we'll ever hear it, and I will play this for you all.
It was 67-52, Loyola Chicago. It's a 16-4 run in the last 7 minutes.
Oh, it's going for the referee.
I mean, look, it even caused a turnover. You got to feel good for San Jose State getting that opportunity. Even though they lost, they did have a look at the end. I believe Donovan Yap had a last-second heave where it looked like he could have drawn the foul, but the Spartans fall. And Tim Miles, Josh Aduje spoke after the game about just how different that was for San Jose to have that type of crowd and how it really made an impact. And being a Bay Area resident myself, I would love to go to more games down in San Jose State there at the Provident Credit Center Arena, and also see it packed. I believe they need more NIL funding and just coordination efforts. So it'll be interesting to see if they get that after that huge crowd that even had a line out the door prior to the game. But unlike Utah State, in California, you are not allowed to put tents out and camp out in front of buildings. So I don't think they could do that at San Jose like they could in Logan. But the boys in Logan will be playing against UCLA today, Thursday, at 6:25 Pacific, in a matchup where they'll be facing a good big man, and Tyler, I think Bilodeau is his name, from UCLA, a team that the Lobos beat. Aggies have not been playing too well the second half of Mountain West season. A lot of that could be due to familiarity. Other teams were used to that zone. So will UCLA have trouble? Will they turn the ball over enough to allow the Aggies to get out and run? Can the Aggies make enough shots to stay in it with this physical team where the Aggies really lack a physical presence downside? Carson Templin, very good rebounder and a battler, I believe I'm trying to say. But Abin Gadaretsi has not proven to be very physical down there. But if they get a Anderson, Akano, Albury, Allen, other guys to make shots, then I think Utah State will be able to hang. The hottest team in America, Colorado State Rams, will be taking on Penny Hardaway's Memphis Tigers in a 5-12 matchup, I believe, where the Rams are actually favored, oddly enough. I believe that's a lot to do with the injury to Tyrese Hunter for Memphis, but they did win their conference. And PJ Haggerty, their lead guard, I believe, was named second team All-American just recently. So Memphis is no slouch. Colorado State is on a heater. Neat Clifford playing as well as anyone in the nation. Kyan Evans on a great ascent this year. Very special player that has made a lot of key shots. Recently, Bowen Bourne has added scoring off the bench. Jalen Crocker Johnson has been solid as a starter since the new year began. And, Ethan Morton has really played where he, has been needed, coming off the bench and just being that glue guy out there. And with Memba down low, Colorado State is really firing on all cylinders. They all know their roles. Can't forget Mr. Jalen Lake, key piece as well, a senior that's capable of making big shots. I would look for Colorado State to keep this close. I don't know if I like them favored in this game, but I think they can win. I would say it's a toss-up, though, either way. Moving on to the game I believe all Lobo fans like myself are looking forward to is the game on Friday evening in Cleveland, Ohio, in the South region. Our New Mexico Lobos, 4:25 Pacific, 5:25 Mountain, will face the 7 seed Golden Eagles from Marquette, just traveling a short distance from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Marquette finished tied for third in the Big East, losing to St. John's in the Big East Conference Final, finishing at 23-10 on the year. early on, Marquette was ranked in the top 20. Had some good wins over Wisconsin, Georgia. They did beat UConn and then also lost to UConn, lost to Iowa State. I believe their worst loss was to Dayton, and Dayton is not a bad team. I believe they're a top maybe 75 or 70 Ken Palm rated team. But Marquette also lost to Xavier and Villanova down the stretch. Did lose to St. John's, 2 times within a week there with the end of the season, and then that conference championship game where they really just got beat up down low and St. John's really rolled. This is a team, though, Marquette, that is built around 3 seniors. They call these guys Marquette's guardians, and 2 of these guys for Marquette were inherited by Coach Shaka Smart, who's been there. This is his 4th season. And 2 guys were already being recruited to go there by the coach who was in place. I believe his name was Wojciechowski or something that I can't pronounce with a W. But those 2 players were Stevie Mitchell and Cam Jones. So Shaka Smart was able to retain those guys during that COVID year, re-recruit them to join him at Marquette. And, these past 4 years have really been building blocks for those 2 freshmen along with David Joplin. So Cam Jones, Stevie Mitchell, who they call off game because of his defensive prowess. David Joplin, another senior, who they call Marquette's guardians. And those 3 and Shaka Smart have, really built over these last 3 years, losing in the Sweet 16 last year to an NC State. The year before, they lost in the second round to Michigan State, who, depending on who wins this game, Marquette could look at having a matchup with Michigan State again in the second round this year, which I'm sure they would like that revenge. But this team is one of the most cohesive units because they did not take in any transfers last year. Everyone has been there outside of the freshmen 2, 3, 4 years. So this is a team that knows their role, very comfortable with what everyone does, where everyone's going to be. And, we know the success Shaka Smart had at VCU, going to the Final Four and multiple tournament appearances there, going to Texas, not having as much success, but a very capable coach and, really locked in with this senior group led by Cam Jones, who was just named 2nd team All-American. He is listed at 6'4" to 6'5", from Memphis, Tennessee, averaged 19 points, 4.5 rebounds, 6 assists. His shooting numbers from the stripe and 3-point land were down this year, only 64% free throw shooting and 31% from 3, whereas last season, I believe it was closer to 38, 39 from 3. So for some reason, that has really dipped. But he is a left-handed master. He loves the left hand. Even when he's driving to the right side, he enjoys the left. A lot of left-handed hooks, left-handed passes over the head, and just one of the sharpest scorers in the country. Scored over 32 or more 3 times this year. Very good in transition, but also so much in control of the game, playing at a different pace. And the way he's so comfortable out there, he's so patient, knows where guys are, able to get to the baseline and not be flustered, wait for cutters to come. And the way he moves is just different than Donovan Dent of New Mexico, who plays like a lightning bolt. And Jones is very fast, and he has this herky-jerky style that will get guys off balance. But it's just a different type of game than Lobo fans are used to seeing in a point guard like Dent. Cam Jones uses his body more, being taller at 6'4", 6'5", and he can shoot off the dribble from 3, off the screen, not afraid to pull up with the quick release. And, he was the top-rated offensive player by Evan Mia, in the ratings that he does, but he's also a very good defender. He's no slouch. Would expect him, to be guarding a true Washington CJ Noland when he has to turn around on defense. The guy that plays off the ball from him, number 4, Stevie Mitchell, another senior, 3-year starter. 11 points a game, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 73% free throw, 36% from three-point range. He does like to put the ball on the deck, capable of shooting the three, obviously, at 36%, will pump fake and take dribble to go in. And he is one of the best defenders in the country and will be guarding Donovan Dent, nominated as one of the top 10 guys for the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year award. He is a menace out there. Coach Pitino in the press conference said that he reminds him of some of the San Diego State defenders of the past, and I would think he's, talking about guys like the Claw, Kawhi Leonard, Jamal Franklin, other great wings that San Diego State has had, including current guys like Bird, I would think. So that length, how will Dent deal with it? It's going to be fun to see. Other starter, kind of the third key in the wheel here is David Joplin, 6'8" senior from Milwaukee, 14 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, 1 steal per game, almost 1 block, 81% from free throw line, so a good shooter at the free throw line. He led the team in made three-pointers with 67 as a big man, but he only shot 31% from 3. So very capable. The Lobo bigs, Amzil, Milicevic, others will have to be aware of where he is. He can shoot the step back as well. He's not just a standstill shooter. So he, also being the top rebounder on the team is, very important. And that's David Joplin. Expect for him to be a tough matchup for the Lobos. On the wing, we have number 2, Chase Ross, 6'5" junior, 3rd year at Marquette. Like I mentioned, no transfers. He averages 10.7 points a game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 36% from three-point range, capable shooter, tenacious defender. He's another left-handed player like Cam Jones. Very capable of stretching the defense, but can put the ball on the floor, and a solid defender as well. So, it's just going to be tough with these wings and the guards that Marquette brings. Those matchups are going to be difficult for the Lobos. I know the Lobos got longer, more physical since the team we saw fall last year to a Clemson. But I think the big man who I'm going to talk about here for Marquette is someone who can be attacked by Nelly. That is number 12, Ben Gold. He plays, the big man at 6'11". He's a junior from New Zealand, 7 points a game, 4 rebounds, shoots 75% from the free throw line and 37% from 3. But he does not like to play down low. He is sometimes timid in terms of hunting his shot. 4 out of his 6 shots average per game come from three-point land, and he's 6'11". So, if you're a Nelly, you're an Atiki, you're going to be stretched out to the three-point line this game, and it's going to be imperative that you get out there, but also be able to, other guys have to be able to rebound if the bigs are going to be stretched by a Ben Gold, a David Joplin, a Royce Parham, who I'm going to get into, a freshman. These are all big guys that love to shoot the 3 ball. And even though they're not fantastic at it, Ben Gold is pretty good, 37% from 3. He's shooting 4 of his 6 shots a game from there. But he is a little frail compared to Nelly. And while he is a willing defender, Nelly should eat him for lunch. If you see what Zuby Ejiofor did for St. John's against this Marquette team in the final, I can't count the amount of dunks that Zuby had on the baseline, rolling down the middle. Lobos have to find a way to get Nelly involved early. They have to let him eat down low, and he can't afford to be hedging out on defense too early and too often and getting in foul trouble. The last thing the Lobos can have is to lose their post presence, because that is their biggest strength to me in this game. As we know, most of the Lobos points come from inside the arc, but especially Nelly. I'm just likening him to what I saw Ejiofor doing for St. John's, and I think Nelly is a very similar player in that regard and what he can bring. So I think he can attack Ben Gold, but on defense, Nelly, he's going to have a challenge getting out on these big guys that can shoot. Key bench players for Marquette, freshman, like I mentioned, number 13, Royce Parham. He's listed at 6'8", gets 15 minutes a game, 5 points a game, 2 rebounds. Very capable of shooting, but can also drive, solid defender. And, other key bench guy, number 7, Lowry is the last name. He's a sophomore, 6'5", brings in 4 points a game, 3 rebounds, very capable shooter at 38%. So, just another super athletic wing, a slasher. Going to be challenging for the true Washingtons, the Philip Borovicinins, the CJ Nolans, to defend all these guys. And also, the entire team. The Lobos usually play a gambling style of defense, and I don't know if Washington and Dent and others can afford to take as many gambles against this team, because Marquette does not turn the ball over a lot, right? They can play fast, but they're in control. Cam Jones is not going to get out of control. He's not going to let the pressure get to him. He's going to use his body to hold off defenders. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the Lobos defend Marquette. And also Marquette has one of the, I believe, top 40 defenses in terms of causing turnovers. So are the Lobos able to attack? Donovan Dent coming in, averaging 20 points a game, 6 assists, just got named honorable mention All-American. Congratulations to him. Very, very deserving. Lobos, though, not much success in the tournament. 8-17, all-time in March Madness, looking for their first win in the Big Dance since 2012 versus Long Beach State. The winner of this game, will have to face Michigan State, so it won't get any easier if the Lobos do win in Cleveland and then have to play on Sunday. But a few things, looking at the Lobos, the last handful of games, 5-10 games, the supporting cast outside of the big two of Junior Joseph and Dent has not been good. Looking at true Washington, last 5 games, shooting pretty good from the field overall, 19 of 48, 40%, but from 3-point land, last 5, he is only 4 of 20, shooting from 3-point land, 20%. Mustafa Amzil, another captain, really been bothered, I think, by the injury, not playing to the same level he was early in the year. Last 5 games, shooting 16 for 49 from the field, 32%. And the last 5, he's only shooting 24%, 5 for 21 from 3. Philly B, someone that, has really been an up and down offensively, production-wise player all year. Started off slow, minutes kind of got cut back, was moved to the bench for a while, came back, regained his confidence, but the last 5 games have been dreadful. 5 for 27 from the field, 19%, 3 for 16 from 3 for 19%. And he's had a lot of good looks where he's able to pump fake and, step to the side or has been open. And I like to see the confidence in him and, being willing to take those shots, because someone has to hit them. But if true Washington and Philly B are not hitting, it's going to be very, very difficult for the Lobos to keep up with this Marquette team, right? Because, UNM, all their points come mostly in quick possessions, one of the fastest teams, only averaging 15 seconds per possession. Only 32 of the Lobos shots come from three, while Marquette, on the other hand, 46% of Marquette's shots come from the three-point line. So that's really where the game, in my mind, is going to be won or lost, right? Is how do the Lobos defend the three? They've been pretty good this year, I believe, only giving up about 7.5, while Marquette makes over 9 a game while shooting, almost half their shots from three, even though they don't shoot a fantastic percentage. It's just incredible to watch. Two contrasting styles here, two superstars, matching up at the point guard position. I'm just going to share some of the KenPom stats here, courtesy of KenPom.com, looking at, New Mexico offense and defense. Like I'm mentioning, we can see the average length of possession for New Mexico, only 15 seconds per possession. How do they find a way to make those possessions count when the game slows down in the tournament? There probably aren't going to be so many possessions. There's going to be more trips to the foul line. Lobos only shooting 68% at the free throw line on the year, which is, you can see here, 307th in the country. It's just going to be not good if the Lobos don't win the free throw battle. Last 10 games for Marquette, though, only 5-5 down the stretch, shooting 44% from the field, and their opponents have averaged 70 points, almost 71 points a game against them, and they've averaged 74. Lobos are 7-3 in their last 10, 76 points a game, giving up almost 69 points a game, and they are shooting 44% from the field. Just will close out with a few other historic notes about this matchup. This will only be the second ever meeting between the New Mexico Lobos and Marquette Golden Eagles, with the Lobos winning that previous meeting 75-68. So we will see if the Lobos can replicate that. I believe the other two previous times that Marquette has been a 7 seed, they have lost. So that is a good trend for the Lobos as well. And, as far as the seeding goes for the Mountain West teams and not getting the respect that many feel they deserve, I don't think we will see the higher seeds come until they prove something in the tournament. And, even if the Lobos or Colorado State were placed a seed or two higher, if New Mexico was an 8-9, they would have had to play possibly a Louisville, a Creighton, Gonzaga. I think Baylor is also included there in the 8-9. So it's really just a gauntlet. I don't think the seeding really would have helped or made a difference that much this year when looking at it that way. The Lobos, even when they did have a 3 seed back in the day, did end up getting upset. And I think one thing we have to think about with all these Mountain West teams that remain, the Lobos, Colorado State, Utah State, all of their coaches right now are being courted for other jobs, right? We're hearing rumors that Calhoun, coach at Utah State, could possibly go to West Virginia job that opened with Coach DeVries leaving to Indiana along with his son, the transfer. Now we hear that Coach Medved from Colorado State, obviously is interested or has interest from Minnesota, where he's from, and his alumni, to possibly coach there. And Coach Pitino has had the rumors swirling about him, regarding several positions. And even last season, after the year, I believe he was in interviews and discussions with Louisville and other schools. So does that get into the player's head in this day and age? When the Lobo football team was waiting to go to Hawaii at the end of last year, it was widely known that the players and others knew that Bronco Mendenhall, had interviewed with Utah State and already had his foot out the door, reportedly. So, did that go into how the Lobos played in Hawaii, the football team that is? Will it affect these basketball teams, knowing, especially at a Utah State, they could have their third coach, in 3 years, make it to a tournament, and then have an exit with Coach Odom leaving to VCU, Coach Sprinkle leaving to Washington, and now, Will Calhoun exit as well. Just very difficult for these Mountain West schools to retain good coaches, good players. With the transfers we're already seeing exit as well from UNLV, including DJ Thomas, Jaden Henley, Rob Whaley. I'm sure there's others that I haven't even heard of, but Nick Davidson at Nevada has reportedly also entered the portal. And Obi Ogbim, one of the best scorers in the Mountain West Conference from Wyoming, will also be entering the portal. So, these teams in the middle of the Mountain West or at the bottom, seems like a lot of their players will be going elsewhere. Will we see players like a Tyson Degenhart, star on a Mountain West school team for 3-4 years? Are those days kind of ending? The Lobos have been blessed, with Donovan Dent for 3 years. We don't know after Friday what the future will hold for him, professional options. I'm sure the NIL options are already knocking. It will probably have a lot to do with what Coach Pitino does, but just keeping those things in mind, that are probably on the players' minds while they're preparing for these games in different scenarios. And as soon as they lose or they win, they don't know what the next day holds, with players going in the portal, coaches getting offers. So there's always action. I will be talking about it here. I will probably join you again here on the Cherry Heat Check after the Lobos matchup with Marquette. Obviously be hoping for a victory, but a very successful season for the Lobos, and in any regard, winning the regular season Mountain West title, finishing 17-3 in the conference, multiple players on the all-conference team. The growth that, we just saw Donovan, Nelly take, even other guys like a Milicevic, a CJ, and Coach Pitino's growth, I think, as a leader and just guiding these guys has been incredible to watch. And we just have to enjoy this tournament run, hopefully. It's the only time in maybe 10 years that we've had back-to-back appearances, and we'll be enjoying it. And I will continue to cover the Lobo basketball all off-season, Mountain West all off-season, coming with a weekly podcast and whenever I feel like it's necessary. Again, my name is Ricky Thompson. This is the Cherry Heat Checkdown. No, it's not. I will be back, though, after the UNM Marquette game to break it down, talk about the next game, hopefully, for the Lobos, or the offseason, what it holds for them, other Mountain West teams, other transfers out there from around the conference. This is the Cherry Heat Check. Again, I'm Ricky Thompson, and I will be covering all things Lobo basketball. Thank you for checking this out, and tune in again.